Hello, I'm Dr. Catherine Horton. I wanted to briefly report about the things that I saw and experienced today. The attacks on me are getting ever more severe. It's really hard to withstand them. I mean, at night sleeping is very hard. There's always games of waking me up at 3 a.m., 3:30 or 4 a.m. and really just on the dot and just very non-stop shots to the head. And I mean, it has to stop at some point, and I am of the opinion we have to regain our systems. They have to be made functional again. So essentially what we have is non-functioning systems, and today I put out 2 videos to actually try to explain why they might not be functioning, and I shall put out some videos about what to do about these sort of situations and what sort of techniques there are to kind of repair systems like that. But anyway, so ultimately we have to find out what pieces are not working. So we literally have to test the system, and this is what I did. As you know, I'm trying to reach out to the embassy and actually get help from them for several reasons. Number one is it is part of consular law that if a German citizen abroad certainly when their health is systematically endangered, when their life is endangered, when they receive threats, when they fear for their lives, the embassy has certain duties according to consular law, which I've linked from my website. I've contacted the consulate several times this year. Starting in April already. I had sent them desperate pleas. They turned me down. I sent them increasingly desperate pleas in September and October, and those were turned down. And as you know, I've put out a public appeal, to the ambassador. And today was very interesting because today I actually traveled down to the embassy to talk to somebody, and I got entangled in traffic jams on the way. And by the time I arrived, the actual main embassy bit was already closed. So I went up to the embassy, and as a German citizen, and I am fearing for my life, and I am being physically assaulted non-stop, and my eyesight is degrading, and my knee got damaged, and so on and so on. I am really now at the point where I am fearing for my health, my integrity, my physical, neurological integrity, and my life here. And I do think, because of the nature of the things that are happening to me, because of the military technology involved, I don't think I can be expected to just battle this on my own. So this is point number one. This is why I approached the embassy. I have exhausted trying to talk to the police. I talked to the local police several times. I made my case known to the Kriminalpolizei of my canton. They did nothing. They didn't even interview me. None of them. It's a cover-up, basically. My case is known to the Attorney General here. He did nothing. My appeal against his decision did nothing. So I've exhausted everything here. So that's why I'm turning to the embassy. And the second reason is that I've also been assaulted in Germany. So the really overt, brutal assault started here, but followed me to Germany. But also the kind of covert assaults already started in Germany. So I consider it more of a German case than a Swiss case. But of course, no one can pull this off here in Switzerland without the knowledge, acquiescence and support of the Swiss intelligence agencies. But anyway, there's a strong link to Germany, and also an incredibly strong link to Britain as well, because Britain is where it all started. So as far as I'm concerned, the 3 intelligence agencies are in on it. And abuse that I suffered here in Switzerland would seamlessly follow me to the UK as well. So and the police intimidation theatre that was pulled off in Manchester, that could have only been actually done the way it did, with interference from, I'd submit, MI5. So, but anyway, the German ambassador is instrumental in actually returning the system to sanity, and he has to be brought on board. He absolutely has to be. So I travelled down to the embassy today to speak to someone there in person, but the embassy was already closed. So there was a rerun of something that happened actually years and years and years ago, and that was when we were still in Transylvania, so in Romania, and we actually had to desperately get through to the embassy in an urgent case as German citizens. And in Romania, I mean, the guards were all like, oh God, these people were such mafiosis, but they all reeked of Securitate, right? I mean, if the Securitate could infiltrate an embassy, they would. And looking at these guys, they were Securitate through and through. And they didn't let us get through to the embassy, the German embassy, as German citizens. So we were kept at the gate. Were told to arrive in the morning, and we were queuing from the morning into the afternoon. So queuing outside an embassy is something I've grown up with. And then they closed the gates in front of us and didn't allow us to go in. So we waited for an entire working day outside the embassy. That was back in the day. And in the end, my mother was so angry. She talked to the guards in Romanian, and they were just a nasty piece of work. And they just told her to, sorry, ma'am, just go. And she said, but we had an appointment today. And they said, well, sorry, you clearly didn't make it. And she said, but we were queuing from morning, but sorry. And in the end, these guards, wanted to turn us away. They closed the gate in front of our noses, and then just walked off, and we're just, like rats kind of crawling around the site. And that moment, what my mother did is she literally, at the doorbell, she just rang the doorbell, and no one replied. And then she just storm rang the doorbell. She literally just, put her thumb on it and kept ringing. And that was actually, you could hear a faint bell ringing somewhere in a building. It was very, very faint. I think it was just only at the reception. And at some point the guard came out and told her to stop. But the bell was on the other side of the gate, so he couldn't do anything. So he just told my mother to stop, and she stopped. And as soon as he was gone, she storm rang the bell again. And the noise must have caused such a racket in the embassy that in the end the German ambassador, who was a woman at the time, came out. And it was like beautiful to see, because by the time the ambassador came out, as soon as she even got close to the door, leaving the building, these, Securitate people just disappeared like rats. I mean, I know as a physicist that the speed of light is, the fastest we have in the universe, but I swear the way with which Securitate agents disappear when shit hits the fan must be faster than the speed of light, because these guys were gone within a blink. And she came out and she just said, what is going on? And my mother was waving the German passport at the gate. So this lady came to the front, and my mother explained that we had an appointment with her and that we weren't let in, and she utterly hit the roof, because she said, well, I was waiting for you and I was told that you hadn't arrived. And then she kind of turned around to look for these, these people, and they were gone. And she just eventually then she asked my mom in, and I stood outside and I just waited for her to return. But it was just, just priceless to see. And this thing of when the gates closed, you just keep ringing. Thank goodness I did that as well. It was so cold. I really, the first lesson I learned was that I need thicker gloves. And I was just standing there, and the embassy was closed. And then I called the central number, but there you get thrown by the phone queue. And then I called the emergency number, and I said that I really need to speak to somebody because the attacks are getting ever more severe. And as I said, this morning there was the black taxi routine again. And this black taxi routine was already done to me last week when I appeared on the Vritschan show. And it's disconcerting, and I'm sick of this. I've received death threats, and this is just a bit too much. And anyway, I left a message, but of course the emergency number, it just passed me to an answer machine. I left my mobile phone number, they never got back to me. So, as a German citizen, I said I'm not actually taken seriously. But then when they didn't get back to me and I was standing there for ages, I just remembered my mother. And I just, kept ringing the doorbell. And I rang it 3 times and nothing happened. Then I rang it 3 times again, 5 minutes later, and nothing happened. And then I rang it 5 times, and then nothing happened, and I thought, right, I'm going to stand here. And then after a while I could just hear rustling inside, and then very carefully the door was opened, and this gentleman came out, and I was just at the gate, and I said, hello, I'm a German citizen, and I really need help. So he came to the gate, and then I introduced myself, and we shook hands through the gate, and I explained that, I'm Catherine Horton, and that I gotten in touch with the embassy several times, and that I contacted the ambassador, and that I really need help because I am being attacked with microwave weapons, and the attacks are getting ever harder. I have been, shot into. I'm scared. I received threats. I'm being stalked and intimidated non-stop, and I really, really need help. And when I said I'm being shot at with microwave weapons, his first question was not, what on earth are microwave weapons? He just looked at me and he was like, oh, like that. And I said, yeah. And he said, well, then you have to go to the police. And I said, well, I've been to the police. I've been to the police. I've been also to the criminal police, but they don't investigate. They do not investigate because these crimes just, out of bounds for them. They're not qualified. They don't have the resources. They don't investigate. And then he said, well, then you have to, turn to the Swiss authorities. And I said, yes, I did. I contacted the Attorney General ages ago, and he doesn't do anything either. So, and then I said, besides, the attacks on me continued in Germany. They started in Germany. And I am, and this is now the really important thing, I said, and as far as I can tell, to me it looks like I'm being irradiated by the BND. And he said, ja, das ist wahrscheinlich der Fall. Like, yes, that's probably the case. So, okay, so the embassy know what microwave weapons are. I also have got now, a statement from a guy who said, yes, this is probably the case. From what I've described, it is probably the Bundesnachrichtendienst irradiating me. And they seem to have, carte blanche. And then I said, well, but, this needs to be stopped. And he said, sorry, I can't help you. And he started taking steps back, like, that's it. I'm like, well, excuse me, what do you expect me to do? I have been injured. Am I just going to go back now and just be maimed, or what exactly is the plan? And he said, well, the police can do something. I said, but the police refuse to investigate. They refuse to investigate. So what am I going to do now? I'm a German citizen, so I am being, hurt abroad by our own intelligence agencies. What am I going to do? Like, I need your help. You need to talk to them. And then he just kept shaking his head, and he said, sorry, I can't help you. And I said, yes, okay, but who shall I talk to? And he just kept, going away. I just said, well, this is outrageous. I am a German citizen. According to consular law, you have to help. And yes, by now I am destitute. I couldn't have an income for the past year because I'm scrambling to find out how to stop this. And I keep being shot at every minute of every day. Day and night. And, and he said, oh, sorry, I'm just from the Wirtschaftsreferat. So, the person who I actually met was a guy with glasses, very nice guy. So his name is Michael Kanzler, according to the website. And I corroborated with a picture I found online that that's really the gentleman I spoke to. And it's fair enough, because he is just a bit, but I mean, he's in charge of the Wirtschaftsreferat. But nevertheless, at the embassy, they are aware that these weapons exist. They're aware. He agreed with me that's most likely the BND. So, but again, I don't want to stomp on this gentleman's head because he did everything right. I mean, if you analyze the situation on a Friday afternoon after 4 o'clock, he was the only one who was still there working in the embassy. And he said, well, the embassy's closed, I'm the only one left here because I'm still working. So it would be a mistake to stomp on, Mr. Kanzler's head, because I'm just glad he came out. I'm glad, that he was so honest, because it is the truth, he spoke the truth. And also he cannot help me, but now it's really down to, his boss, it's down to the ambassador. It's his job. So Dr. Otto Lampe really has to get on the case, essentially. And I'm just grateful that someone does answer the door and, actually, does something. But I'm telling everybody, you have to solve these problems. It is now official. We have whistleblowers, we have so many victims, we've got victim organizations, we've got statistics about victims, countless news reports. This is now official, and more people are being attacked. I'm now being attacked as well, and this is after years of it already having been in the public domain. So anyway, I mean, it was just quite something, and then just to explain, I came back and there's actually another lady who's being brutally attacked. Her name is Melanie Vritschan, and she's an amazing lady. I mean, she has been implanted multiple times, non-consensually. She even had what's called a strangulator implanted, which is essentially a device that is, I think, built by, believe it or not, Motorola. And is partially also developed by like a research lab in Trente, in Belgium. And she essentially had this strangulator implanted against her will, along with a little microphone that records all her speech. And the strangulator was bit by bit strangulating her neck, so that she now has actual images of her neck being damaged and bent, like you would expect it for a strangulation victim. And she has got a court case coming up. It's going to happen on the 9th of February. And, these things that have been done to women are horrific. She was a single mom. Her child was taken away from her. They irradiated her brutally. When I spoke to her, and I support her court case, and I'm submitting evidence to her court case, and we had a discussion about this on Sunday, and after that she was brutally assaulted, and subsequently I was brutally assaulted as well. Just for us being just joyful that this is finally happening, But it is shocking what the intelligence agencies are doing. They are mutilating innocent women. They are implanting them with this Nazi technology, like a strangulator. So next time you buy a Motorola mobile phone, you should think, these are the people who also make strangulators. An actual implant that grows inside your throat and can be triggered and can actually strangulate you and will gradually strangulate you bit by bit. I mean, have you ever heard of something like that? And, this is the court case that she's fighting. And imagine, so tonight I spoke to her about that, and as I was speaking to her and I told her I've just been to the German embassy, she said, oh, by the way, here in Belgium I know of another German lady, and she approached the embassy in Belgium, and the German ambassador to Belgium, about her being irradiated. And she went into the embassy and she talked to people about it, and they told her, yes, we know about these things, but we can't do anything. So again, we've got this situation that Craig Murray, the British ambassador to Uzbekistan, also discovered that he spoke up about torture that he was made aware of, and none of the other ambassadors did. But as I understood it, that was torture of other people. But now it's the torture of their own citizens. Yes? So it's the torture of their own citizens abroad, and the ambassadors stopped giving a damn. And they do nothing. Now this, I would say, contravenes consular law in every imaginable way. And I just want to make this public that so far I have not received any help from the embassy. Oh yes, and that was another thing. As I was talking to Michael Kanzler, one of the odd things he said is he said to me, well, I just came, he said, I'm alone here. I can't do anything, I'm alone here. And I'm the only one left because I still am working. And I just came down because I thought it's an emergency. And I said, but it is an emergency. I am being mutilated. My eyesight is being damaged. I am being tortured. And my health is being actively attacked. And he said, that's not an emergency. Then what the fuck is an emergency? Like some big wheeling, dealing, deal or what? What is an emergency? If receiving death threats, having these like creepy black cars with blackened windows outside, after being demonstratively stalked by people of international background, so think international intelligence agencies, being microwaved in your own home, if that's not an emergency, then what is? And why did the people from the emergency helpline not reply? What sort of emergency helpline is it if you get put through to a voicemail and they never call back? What is this? Am I blacklisted? Has my citizenship been stripped? So I just want to make this public that I have called. So as I said, as far as I'm concerned, Michael Kanzler did everything right. I'm grateful that he actually answered the door. And I'm grateful for his honesty, because what he said after speaking to Melanie Vritschan seems to be the case in all embassies. They know about these crimes. So he's very well aware, and he had the honesty to say, yes, you're right, most likely it is the BND. And I appreciate that a lot. But my issue is with the fact that, the embassy is not manned before 5 p.m. on a Friday, which, given that it's an embassy, okay. But if you call the emergency helpline and they don't call you back, that is bad form. That is bad. So whoever is manning the emergency helpline of the German embassy today was not doing their job and hasn't done their job. It is now 11:30 p.m. at night and they have not done their job yet. So what sort of emergency helpline is that? Today is the 16th of December and I was calling the helpline this afternoon before 5 p.m. and I haven't heard back since for the past 6 hours. So I ask you, who is on call today? And what sort of helpline is that? And I just want to make sure that as it is, off today, I still have my German passport. It hasn't been revoked. I haven't been made stateless. And if I approach the German embassy with the fact that I'm being attacked, that I've received death threats, and that I've exhausted everything with the local police and the Swiss police, even one level up in the Attorney General, I do expect help. Especially when I'm being attacked with military technology, with microwave weapons and with brain interference technology as well, in a systematic way. Because one of the people who is also in the German embassy is the military attaché. I'm sure he knows about microwave weapons, and I think it would be the ambassador and his job to have this stopped, because he should have access to the equipment to measure this and to have these men finally brought under control one way or another. So I just want to say that this was my experience today. It was I mean, as I said, my thanks to Michael Kanzler, because at least he did open the door and he did speak to me, which is essentially he saved the face of the embassy. Because having gone to an embassy and then the emergency helpline not even replying, that would have been bad for good. But this way, at least I did today manage to speak to somebody, and I expect I came, I accept that I came and I approached them out of hours. And essentially, thanks to Mr. Kanzler, that saved the face of this entire show. But otherwise, I think it would have been the emergency helpline had it not been him to tell me, And the emergency helpline did not help today. They did not call back. So anyway, so these are the lessons, always wear thick gloves, because you might be standing outside an embassy for a very, very long time. Then if you do, always ring the doorbell until someone comes out. Don't stop ringing the doorbell. And then I guess the other lesson is that it seems to be that there's a systematic cover-up, because, even if Mr. Kanzler hadn't admitted that, yes, they do know about microwave weapons, which as I keep saying, I'm very grateful that he did, because I do prefer honesty. He was just honest. He can't help me. He's in charge of the economic, interactions. He's not the ambassador. So I'm really grateful for that. And also, even if he hadn't said that, I would have heard today from Melanie Vritschan that already in Belgium, the Belgium embassy and the German ambassador to Belgium is not helping another German victim, who's also a lady, also a woman, being attacked with military technology. She's not receiving the help also from the German ambassador in Belgium. So I think we have our work cut out. So that's 2 ambassadors who so far refused to help. The time is ticking, gentlemen. The time for the German ambassador to Switzerland has been ticking since April. And we'll see, had he acted in April, I would not have had my hip damaged, my knee damaged, my eyesight damaged. I would not have had the accumulated damage, neurologically, the disruption of my life, the disruption of my economic income, and the systematic disruption of my marriage, which brought it to the brink. Because no one can withstand the onslaught of the Stasi-Zersetzungsmethod, powered by military technology add-ons with, fancy brain fuck computer programs on top of that. This is like Nazi death camp experiments on steroids, and I hope that the German ambassadors in Belgium and here in Switzerland at some point see sense. In a sense, it's thanks to Mr. Kanzler that at least, someone spoke to me. And had this man not been there diligently doing his work whilst all his colleagues had already buggered off into the weekend, I would have stood there with no one replying to the emergency call. So, it doesn't look good, gentlemen. On any level, it doesn't look good. And as I made clear in my video earlier, if systems don't behave the way you expect them to, the way the rules say they should behave, it's a direct implication of capture. It's simple as that. The system is captured. And now it's down to the ambassadors if they want to have the capture stick to them. Does the buck stop with them? If they can regain and make their bit work, it means that the capture is high up, the buck is passed up, and they are essentially, get away scot-free. If they can recapture it themselves now, their unit. If they can't, and if they cannot work the way it's written in consular law, that they have to help, then the buck stops with them, and they are the captured unit, and they have to be replaced. So they can either recapture, basically reclaim themselves, or it's pretty clear that they have to be replaced because they do not do their work. So that's it for now. So I have to get through to them at some point, because I still am in favor of just reclaiming units and making them work again. And it would be so easy to make them work, because they could just stop. They could just, abort this, and they could just stop. But, they don't seem to be able to.